Where?
What are you talking about? Going to where?
He
When?
was talking in general, going to
No.
minyan in a synagogue. In an indoor minyan.
Did you get your permit yet to come to yeshiva?
You talking to me?
Yeah, for your shir.
Oh no, I don't know what's going to be with. I don't know. I didn't get a problem. I'm waiting till they see how many people sign up, and then I'll.
Yeah, you have to fill out the form to tell them you want to give a shir.
I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, I signed up and put you as my chavrusa.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's probably the first time you ever had to do that, huh?
No, Paul, you
Yeah.
signed up?
I did the same
Yeah,
thing.
of course.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe. Does anybody?
You know,
Is everybody
let them
okay
try
with-
kicking me out.
There was a suggestion to do the sugya of sherry casks and any other alcoholic shilas that come up. Is anybody okay with that subject or?
That's fine with me.
Yeah, somebody's going to bring
Is
samples.
that on Shavuos?
Got a heads or we'll take
Oh,
it.
it's not.
Sorry, I won't be there. Go ahead. Go for it. Go for it.
We'll record it for you, Uri.
You've already answered most of these questions, though.
If you record it on Shavuos night, I'll listen.
You better if I do it. Yeah. All right, let's go.
If
But
let's
Rabaran,
say
one second, Rabaran, you gonna be a Shavuos?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But you're not gonna want to do it inside.
Well, that's why I might do it inside, according to Jesse. I wear a mask.
Well, see, okay, I don't know. I'm not so sure. Shayoshev, they have a lot of guys. If a lot of their guys show up, they might not have room. So maybe we just go to Aaron's tent. Also, I imagine it would depend on the weather. I don't know. Okay, whatever. We'll see. Okay.
Was that the Spanish cotton won't be available? They're gonna use
I don't
it?
know if they're gonna have a big crowd. I mean, if all their bachrim show up, then they have a lot.
Base measures.
So why does that make a difference? Why does that make a difference? You get rights too.
I ain't getting involved. I don't want nobody. I don't want to know rights. I don't want rights.
Thiago, my house is available as well if you want. Putting it out.
All right.
I
Depends what
won't
type of
charge-
meat for them.
I won't charge for the coffee.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but the meat might be left afterwards.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Yeah. Boira Papa. Bottom line. Is that what we're up to? No, I'm in the wrong way. Chav Beis. What's today's daf? I'm on the wrong daf. Right? We're Chav Gimel.
Today's Chav Gimel.
Yeah,
Chav
Gimel,
Gimel,
I
I
think
think
we
we
finished
finished
on
on
the
the
base,
bottom.
You're on the
Base on the bottom.
You're on the bottom. You're on the
Yeah,
bottom.
thank you. I was on with Aleph. But okay.
Man.
I'm not in Shayoshev, so I don't have a cup. I apologize. There's no cup here. In Shifaragua, you could drink from the can. So I'm closer to there right now. So I'm going with that Mahala. Yeah.
Man, they can't agree on any policies. The two of them, every single thing they do the opposite.
You're right. You have no idea. One says Gosh Masharoch Marida Goshem, the other one says Masharoch Marida Geshem. One has a mezuzah on the door to the outside of the bathroom, the other one doesn't. I mean, it's
One mask, one doesn't mask.
yeah. One Rosh Hashiva sits in a glass box in a fish tank, the other one sits behind one a little glass. All right. Okay, we let's on this. Okay, let's go. Fine. Kol Talmud chacham she'enoi noikim v'noiter k'nochash einoi Talmud chacham. All right, a wild Gemara. Any Talmud chacham, because we finished yesterday by saying that Shaul was not mochel on his covet of the king. So we're continuing that. If you are mevaza Talmud chacham, I don't know if mevaza is the right word, but if he's does something wrong to a Talmud Chacham and he doesn't take nekama and netira, which we'll see in the Gemara in a minute, what that means, like a snake, then he's not a Talmud Chacham, which is also fascinating. Right? What do you mean he's not a Talmud Chacham? I mean, if he knows the Torah, he knows the Torah, just because he doesn't take revenge. Elamai must be that his behavior is not what he's not, because his behavior is not that of what a Talmud Chacham is supposed to do. So Mamela, he's not considered Talmud Chacham. Right? So what is a vaksiv? So Gemara asks, what do I mean? Vaksiv loisikam loisitor. We had this, what was it? Last week's, 2 weeks ago's parsha? Right? Last week?
Kedoshim, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. So we had, it says like sikam loisitor, 2 different isurim. Right? You can't take nekama and you can't, and loisitor means you can't what do you call it? Bear a grudge. You can't have a taina. Right? So the Gemara answers, "Ahubim mammon hu dichsiv." That's only by financial matters. That's where it's also. Meaning, if somebody messes you up financially, then you're not allowed to have any tainas on him. The Tanya ezi nekima ezi natira. Right? Rashi brings this in Kedoshim. Right? What's nekima and what's natira? So nekima, which is otherwise known as nekama, right? Revenge. Amar la yeshilani makelcha. He says, "Lend me your." I don't know, what do you call it? That type of tool. Amarloi lav. He says to him, no. So lemachar amarloi hu heshilani kardomcha. You lend me your kardom, your axe. Amarloi eni mashilcha kederech shaloi hishiltani. I'm not giving it to you just the way you did it to me. So that's straight out revenge, which I think is something that many people would do. Right? Many people would do this. 1 second. Yesterday I tried to borrow two from you. You said no. Today you come to me to borrow, and you're just supposed to give it to him. And if you don't give it to him, then since it's a financial thing, you're over on an issur daraisa. Zuik nekima, that's nekima. Bezu netira. What's considered netira? Literally, netaicha netira means watching. So Amrlei heshilani kardamir. He says to, can you lend me your kardam? Amrlei lo. He says no, you can't. Lemachar Amrlei heshilani chaluka. Lend me your shirt. Amrloi helech, take it. Eini kemois, I'm not like you. Shaloya shaltani, right? Because you didn't lend to me, and I'm not like you. I'm going to lend it to you. That's netira, meaning you still have the grudge, right? So you still have the grudge, but it's not the same as actual revenge because you didn't take actual revenge because you gave it to him, right? So it's mamish two different isurim. So first time there's a ha'ara. Why did the Gemaras change the cases? First was a magel, and then it was a kardam, and then the second case was a kardam and then a shirt. Right? That's tam ha'ara. Why the Gemara change?
I was thinking even though he did something nice, he didn't give him just a hammer. He gave him a shirt. A shirt is a more personal zach than the hammer you keep in the garage. He went to his bedroom and got a new clean shirt for the guy, but even it's still not good because he told him that.
I was gonna say that it's a completely different genre of item that he wants to borrow. Also, it's like a different topic. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I'm not giving you a tool because you didn't give me a tool, right? But this is a shirt, and he's bringing up the fact that he needs a shirt. Obviously, it's nebuch. The guy needs a shirt for something, right? It's not just a tool. And he's bringing up the fact that he didn't loan him a tool when he's giving him a shirt. You know, it's just like a bigger chesed.
Right.
You know, it's a different topic, different topic with a different kind of item.
So what are you saying? You want to say that it's
it's a chiddush that something is wrong. Why should that be
Correct.
wrong?
Correct. No, that's the vart. It's that he couldn't forget the fact that he couldn't see that the guy needed a shirt, right?
No, but he's giving it to him. No, he's giving it to him.
The guy asked him to borrow it, right? No. What I'm saying is
it to him.
He couldn't, but he couldn't. He doesn't realize
Yeah, right. But Lamais is giving it to
But if the guy's asking for a shirt, right? Let's just say the guy needs a shirt. Nebuch, he can't afford a shirt, right? But the guy who's loaning it to him can't give up the fact that the guy who needs the shirt, Nebuch, maybe he didn't want to, part with his tools for whatever reason. Maybe he can't afford it.
He's still holding the grudge. The bottom line, he's holding the grudge.
Yeah, but he's giving him the shirt.
No matter what it is.
He's giving him the shirt.
But specifically,
but he's saying, "Hey, I'm not like you."
It's a bigger chiddush.
So hold on. If he would have given him the other tool, right, and he still says, "I'm giving it to you, even though you didn't give me your other tool,"
It's the same, sir. It's the same.
So why didn't the Gemara use the same case then?
That's what we're talking. That's what
Rabbi Yaakov
said. He asked, "Why am I changing? Why am I?"
So I'm saying it's a bigger chiddush because it's not even in the same.
That's what I
said. It's a different thing, right? You're saying the same thing. Oh, but there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot here in halacha because Lamaisa, the Gemara is coming out that there's no, only if somebody physically with finances damaged you, but if it's an emotional damaging, you're not. From this Gemara, is mashma that you're allowed to have tinus, right? That's so. Lamaisa, the Chafetz Chaim is machmer, and he says there's other Rishonim that don't learn this way, and you have to. He says it's a suffix deraisa to be machmer. So it's not so pashut like that to have tinus. That's one. Two is the Shari Tshuva. I happen to be holding by this Shari Tshuva in my Shari Tshuva Seder. I mean, it was one page ahead. It's fascinating what he says. Let's say you don't say anything. Let's say you lend it to him. You still have tinus in your head, but you lent it to him without saying a word. Shari Tshuva says you're still over. You have to. The Shari Tshuva says you have to erase it from your head. You cannot. How does one do that? How do you do that? Doesn't the Gemara ask? How can you say to somebody? How can you be mechayiv somebody to love somebody? Right? If there's no love, there's no love. Right? I mean, it's in Yonah de Yoma because Bill Gates helps divorce. But the couple says there's no love. There's no love. That's it. No more love. Right? You can't force me to love.
How could you say loy sachmoid? That's
right. Just all these things. Right? I'm saying, how do you tell a guy not to have it in his head?
Don't we say Devarim Shabalev in a Devarim?
Okay, so what are you saying by that?
I mean, how does the Shari? I'm saying a question on the Shari Tshuva, really. And if Devarim Shabalev believe in a Devarim, so if you're not, who cares if you feel it in your heart? The action is what matters, according to that. No.
Right.
So how does the Shari Tshuva? How do we understand the Shari Tshuva that it's still a problem that you feel it in your heart if Devarim Shabalev in a Devarim?
Yeah. I don't know. It's yeah. I don't know. I don't understand the.
I'm agreeing with your question.
I don't understand the pshat. You have the same right? You should never hate. You should never hate your brother in your heart, right? So what is that? So how do you understand that? Okay, whatever it is, it's a major. So the point is that we have to make sure we don't have any tinus. That's as difficult as that is, right? Okay, so let's see. V'tzar de guf aloi, and tzar of the guf is not. It's not. It doesn't apply these isurim because that's what the Gemara is making mashma. Tanya hanel lovin bein and olvin, those that get insulted, and they themselves they don't insult back. Shoymin charpasan bein and meshivin, and those that hear that somebody belittles them and they don't answer. Oisin mehava, right? Those that do avoda from love, and are happy with suffering, right? Alein hakosav omer, the pasuk says, "Va'oyav of kitzeis Hashemesh b'gvurasoi," right? That those that love Hashem will be, they're going to be as strong as the sun coming out when it's at its strongest. So that means obviously it's a big thing, it's a big thing to be happy with Yisurin. And if you do it avoda ba'ahava, which is also interesting that it comes out this week with all the tzaras, and whatever, you don't take nekama, and that's not only talking about mammon, right? So that's a kasha. So you're really not supposed to. See, it's different. It's not saying that you're over on a lav. It's just saying that you're a good guy if you don't take revenge. It doesn't say you're not allowed to take revenge. Right? Okay, but so the Gemara answers, "Lailam de naket le believe." Right? What he meant was that the Talmud chacham should keep it in his heart, but he should not be the one to get involved in let other people take revenge on his behalf, but he himself should just not say anything. Right? Meaning the Talmud chacham should let other people make machaz, let's call it that, on his behalf, but he himself shouldn't, but he's allowed to have it in his heart, right? Which is also interesting to be mechalik between the two, right? Because that means really he does have tinus, but he shouldn't say anything. Which again, I guess that's not a hatred on his own behalf. It's on the behalf of the Torah, right? It's really not his covet. It's not on the covet for the Talmud Chacham, it's a covet on his behalf. So So if you're maver on your midas, then Hashem's going to take away all your averos. So then that sounds like you should forget about it. Even the Talmud chacham says the mefayis, right? Rava was talking about a case where the guy came back and apologized. Then of course you shouldn't hold a grudge. If the fellow comes to apologize, then the Talmud chacham should apologize, should accept the apology. But if the guy never came back to apologize, right? Then he's still allowed to keep it in his mind. Yeah.
What is the taich of Ma'avar Midaisov? Obviously, I'm hearing it for many years. What exactly does it mean? What it means if you have good midas, you shouldn't listen to your good midas. What does it mean? Only if you have bad midas, you shouldn't listen to your bad.
No, really. I think Midaisov here means measurements, right? Which is that you're not doing tit for tat. I don't think it means that you're maver on your midas. I think here midas means measurements. Like, hey, my neighbor didn't lend me his axe, so I'm not gonna. I'll lend him maybe you're saying maybe I'll lend him something, but I'm not lending him my axe because it's not equal. So if you're maver on your midas of the measurement, like, hey, you treat me this way, you measure our relationship this way, so you measure that. That's what I think that means. Right?
Okay.
And also the chinuch, there's the chinuch on this, the Sefer HaChinuch is also very interesting, where he says the reason why you don't take revenge is because Hashem decided you shouldn't get this axe. You need an axe, right? You need an axe, right? You needed to borrow an axe from a neighbor. The neighbor said no. But you having tainas on the neighbor is really having tainas on Hashem. Because Hashem obviously didn't want you to have the axe, at least through this shliach. He may have wanted you to get the axe through so by doing this, it's really a lack of betachon, which is yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna say a ma'aseh shahaya from me last week from the daf, and you tell me if I should have tainas. Not that I'm calling myself a Talmud chacham, but sometimes if you notice, I know the oilam sometimes complains that I'm texting, right? So now it happens to be in this time. It's mikvah time, right? Now 9 o'clock is when a lot of women are mikvah. So if there's a mikvah shaila that gets texted, right? So if I notice it, I'm going to try and answer. If the oilam's talking, I'll try and answer, right? So last week, a guy calls in the middle of the daf. I didn't answer, and then it was a mikvah shaila, right? So I'm not answering so fast because I got to go. We're learning, right? So I ask him a question back, and then silence. After the daf, I look at the phone. The guy hasn't answered me a half hour. Right now, I almost stopped the daf to talk to this fellow. Right? You call a younger man, and then I text him. I said, if you got an answer already, then just please have the decency to let me know. I mean, in my head, I'm trying to think of cool as this and that. Nothing, no answer, nothing. I've met the guy at least from a distance. It's happened last week a couple of times. I've said no. I haven't texted anything. Nothing. Should I have it? Should I have time? Like what? When I saw this going, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Should I tell him? Should I not tell him? Am I not supposed?
I think you should tell him you're performing a service, and he's showing not just a lack of a karsatov, but tremendous chutzpah.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know. But
this has happened to doctors many times. I know a doctor saved somebody's life. The guy didn't even say hello to him in the street. It's something we got used to.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about him thanking you. I'm not saying thanking. That's not the point. The point is in the middle of the thing and he just drops out.
I think you should tell Jesse who it is and he'll go fight for you.
I'll take care of it.
Yeah, there you go. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do. You know, maybe al chinuch he's supposed to say something. Al chinuch. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways. It's not negayah to me because Talmud chacham. This is not negayah to me. I just happen to have known some information. That's all. But anyways, okay. So let's see the Gemara weiter. So what are they? What? How many fingers do they put out? 1 or 2, right? So Gemara says hashta shtayim mitzian achas mibay. Well, if you're allowed to put out 2 fingers, right? The Mishnah says that the kohanim when it was once they started it was dangerous, so they made the gyral, right? So then you could either put out 2 fingers or 1 finger. Well, if you could put out 2 fingers, so then do I need to tell you that you're allowed to put out 1 finger? So Rav Chisda like kasha kan babari kan b'chayla. One is talking about a kohen who's healthy. So he can lift one finger, right? But kan b'chayla, but you're a chayla, right? So meaning it's hard for them to separate the fingers, right? Meaning it's sometimes, like when you try to do shtick with your fingers, so when you want to try and separate them, so it might not be easy to hold back the other fingers. So that kohen could hold up 2 fingers. That's what the Gemara means. Vatanya, and this is here the Vatanya is not a kasha, it's a raya. Vatanya, achas metziin, shtayim ein metziin. You're allowed to put out 1 finger, but 2 fingers you're not allowed. But medvar murim bebari, that's by a healthy kohen. But if it's a sick kohen, afilu shtayim metziin. Even he's allowed to stick out 2 fingers. By yechidin, mitziin shtayim ve'ein ma'anan ela achas. But the yechidim, meaning, so Rashi says that these are the kohanim that didn't even have strength to get up and stand in the circle of the lottery. They were just sitting off to the side. So then they're allowed to hold up 2 fingers.
So they're healthy enough to do avoda?
I don't know, right?
I was just going to ask that.
Right, yeah, I don't know. The guy can't get off the chair to join the thing, but he's going to go and climb up 32 amas without getting back into that Rashi, right? 32 amas ramp, clean the ashes, right? And do all that. Okay, but I guess that's maybe adrenaline. We could say adrenaline, right?
I assume there was that they had damage to their hand, and they, like a claw hand or other damage to their fingers.
Then,
that's what
then
I assume.
But then they could have walked over to
balmum.
the circle, though. But they could have walked over to the circle, no?
But then they were balmum, no?
That's another thing, right? That's true. You got to make sure.
If
You got to make sure he's not. Well, actually, we're going to see on
Amud
Amud Beis. We're going to see on Amud Beis that it's a Machlokes whether a balmum is allowed to do the ashes. So that's taka. Yeah. Okay. So vayechidim matziin shtayim ve'ein ma'anan lahen ela achas, but we only count it as 1, right? Something where it says ve'ein ma'anan lahen ela achas, we only count the fingers 1 time. Vatanya, we learned in a brayso, ein matziin lo shlish v'lo gaidol. You're not allowed to put out the middle finger, right, the 3rd finger, and not the thumb, right? You're not allowed to put either one of those fingers out. Mipnei Ramayim, another fascinating Gemara, because of the cheaters, right? Because if a guy makes the calculations that it's gonna fall out on somebody else, so what he does is he'll take the 3rd finger and put it out, and then put the thumb, because they were standing so close together. And then he could scam the system because it'll get counted twice, and maybe it'll stop on him, right? So, yeah. So that's why you can't do it. V'im haitzi shlish, and if he does put out the 3rd, ma'anan loy, then we do count it, right? So now the Gemara's havamin is then that you're going to count both that finger and the other finger that he's out.
What are they counting to? Meaning, when people put out their finger, what's the process there? When the kohanim put out their finger, what are they counting?
They pick 1 and they put we're going to see weiter how they do it exactly, but they put the mitzna, what do you call it? The hat. No, they take the hat off of 1, right? And then they say, how does it work again? They take the hat off.
Then he makes up a big number. He makes number 650, and there's only 30 guys.
And then
there.
he goes and he keeps going
and he
around
just keeps
until
counting around.
Yeah, until he gets to the number that's chosen.
Uh-huh.
So if you see that, you got to be a smart kohen to figure out with the thing, and then start putting out 2 fingers.
I was going to say, when you do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, the person you stop at is the one you're going to finish.
Right. Okay. Right. But that's yeah.
We said somebody said that Ferris Yisrael says that in Mishnah is. There's only 2 guys, then they'll always know who it is.
So somebody said you're right. Yesterday, someone said right. So there's only 2 then. Anyway, so Gaidel ain't mine, but if he takes out the thumb, then we don't count it, right? Not only that, but he's going to get smacked with the mamuna, whoever's in charge, with a pekia, which Gemara is going to say what that is. So whatever it is, you see that it does get counted twice, right? So Gemara answers, "My mo'in loy nami achas." No, when it says it counted, it doesn't mean it gets counted twice. It means it gets counted once, right? Even if the kohen puts out the wrong finger, we're going to count it, but only once. Okay, my pekia. What is pekia? So Amar Rav said madra. It's a madra. My madra. Amar Papa matarka detai. It's the whip from the tai, the Arab, the people, the traveling Arabs. right? The pasuk Reishe, right? The end of the top of the whip is broken. Yeah, so that's probably a little bit painful, that whip. Some Rabaya, Mereish Havamina. In the beginning, I used to think Hadatnan Ben Bivoi Munal Pekia. When we said Ben Bivoi is the one that's in charge of the Pekia, Amina, I thought Psilta means Pekia means the wicks. Kidetnan, right? We learned Mavloi Michnesei HaKohanim from the worn out clothing, from the pants of the Kohanim, and from their belts. Mehen Hoyu Mafkiyin. That's what they used. They would tear those up, and they would use that as wicks. So once I heard that the mamun is pekiyas, and then I thought that pekiyah means to whip. So now ben bivai, when it says mamun al pekiyah, instead of him thinking that it was wicks, came out that it was the whip in order to keep these kahanim in shape. Yeah.
Yaakov.
Yeah.
The Satmar Rebbe's Levaya. So when they were setting up the base medrash in the morning, they were trying. Obviously, there was a lot of setup. All the gaboyim who were doing the setup, they all had heavy, wet towels, and they would whop the guys. Anybody didn't listen to them, they would just smash them with the wet towels, heavy wet towels, blast them away. Yeah. The whole morning. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, Satmar's got their ways. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so right. So right? So it was a ma'aser that two guys it was the tie. Photo finish, as we said. And they went up to Kevish and he broke his legs. So Tana Rabbanan. Yeah, ma'aser b'shnei kohanim shayishneim shavin, that they two kohanim were equal, v'ratzin va'oilin b'kevish, and they both ran up to Kevish. Kidam echad man l'soich arba amos shel chaveroi. So one of them went into the 4 amos before his friend, meaning he won the race. Yeah, not al sakin, but then he took a knife, and he stabbed him with it. Right, and it was nifter. So Amud Reb Tzadok. Yeah, so but Reb Tzadok got up on Mailas Ulam, on the steps of the Ulam. And he said, Achenu Beis Yisrael, right? Our brothers, basically, Shimu Harehu Aimer Ki Matzi Chalal Ba'adam. Right, we had this yesterday. Well, not the pasuk, but when you find a chalal, when you find a dead body on the ground, and then they go out and they do the Eglah Arufah, right? Because we don't know, they have to take responsibility. The town leaders have to take the responsibility. So Anu Amila Havi Eglah Arufah, who us in the Beis Hamikdash, who are we supposed to bring an Eglah Arufah? Aloir or Al Azaras? Does it go on Yerushalyim or does it go on the Beis Hamikdash? So go Kalaam B'Pchia. So everybody started crying because he said, basically, how could something like this happen in the Beis Hamikdash?
How can he compare this to an Eglah Arufah? Eglah Arufah, you don't know who killed the guy. Here, the guy you know who killed him.
Yeah. So the Mefarshim, the teretz the Gemara is going to give on Amud Beis really answers that kasha. So let's wait till Amud Beis. We'll see. Yeah, you're very good. So the father of the Tina came Matzu Kishu Mefarfer, and he found it that he was still moving. Right now, I don't know what's the lashon of the Tinoik? What's a Tinoik? Right? I mean, these were Kaihanim, wasn't it? And Tinoik is as sure on the bar mitzvah, I think.
The child. I learned.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't a child that was racing to go do the avoda here.
It was his son.
What? No, the father of the Tinoik that was dying.
He called.
Is it not a Tinoik? He calls him a kid, no matter how old he is.
How could a Tinoik be the one that died? He was racing to do the avoda. Right? I forgot already what they say.
It's not a Tinoik in the literal sense.
You mean he means his son?
His son.
It's an interesting.
Why is that lashon? Yeah.
I just heard this morning. I didn't understand why. I asked him my chavutz the same thing. I don't understand why.
There is a teretz. I can't remember now what. I can't remember now. I got to start writing these things down so I remember. Where is this going? Yeah, okay. Whatever it is. So and he found him, convulsing, I guess would be the right word. So Omar Harehu Kaparaschem. He's your kapara, meaning his death should be a kapara. And my son, he says, is still moving around on the floor, and the knife is not going to be tama yet. Right? So he basically, the father of this person who was being nifter, was more worried about the tumah than about the body. Right? Which we're going to say in Amud Beis exactly what this means. But the lamed shekash aleim tyrus kalim yosem mishvitas damim. It teaches you that it's more difficult tyrus kalim than shvichas damim, meaning it was more difficult for them. Which meaning that the father was, when his son was dying, was worried about the tumah of the knife, right? So, but the thing is like this. So, I mean, it could be he gave up on his life. He said, forget about it. He's dying. He's done. So now we might as well save the knife. No, does it have to be that he cares more about the tumah of the knife? Or it was just miyayish?
It's modern because it's his son more than anything else. It's his son. I
understand, but if the son was already nifter or close to it, so you might as well save the knife.
Right, might as well save the knife.
I'm saying yes, it's a very.
That's the first thing the person's thinking about. The knife is in his heart, and he's thinking of his son with his son's.
Who cares about the knife?
What do you mean? Who cares? He's saying might as well save the knife from tumah.
What about the rest of the opinion? To me, is just an example of how crazy they became at that moment, and I don't think many Mefarshim would disagree with that. I mean, that's just well,
that's
his son is dying. He's a ghost. Says, "Oh, let me get the knife." That's just. I mean, think about your priorities.
Right, but or you could say this man is a very practical man.
Well, or what about the rest?
This man is nuts.
What do you say, Ori?
It said the rest of the Beis Hamikdash is going to be Tumas Meis. No.
Well, there was no oil. There was no oil, so not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
They can move everybody out.
I couldn't get another knife.
I don't know. Listen, I could tell you my situation with my mother-in-law, Zachrona Lebracha. She Nebuch lost 2 children, and her son, she had lost a son when he was 31. And she was there was the morning that he was nifter, and she did a lot of medical referral stuff, my mother-in-law. So somebody called her, and with a medical zach, how's that person supposed to know what happened? So my mother-in-law said, listen, I'm busy now. Call me back later in the afternoon. I'm frozen?
Not frozen.
All right.
Not frozen.
Yeah, so she said, call me back later in the afternoon and I'll help you out. Right? It's a crazy ma'isa, but
you had the frame of mind to do such a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yaakov, it's not compared. It's a fantastic madrega of Yeshviga. It's not nothing to do with this ma'isa.
Let me ask you this question: how come the Mishnah
I'm not
doesn't?
saying it is. It's just it's. I don't know. Yeah, what are you saying?
Why does it say Rotzen v'olam v'kevish v'dochav echav mehem es chavera v'nofel v'nishvul raglov? Okay, he broke his leg, but this is a more drastic case. This should be the one in the Mishnah.
You mean why is this not in the Mishnah?
Killed the guy. Yeah.
Okay, so that really the Gemara. Okay, so the Gemara's next. Yeah, I hear because the Gemara's next kasha.
Benny, because at the end of the day, they want to tell you that there was a lot of killing going on.
No, you want to get someone's attention. You tell them a guy killed him. No, the broken leg. Okay, it's not a good thing, but it's different than someone killing somebody.
Just to make your kasha stronger, your kasha is much stronger than that. If what stopped them doing this was a broken leg, somehow this didn't stop them doing it. Someone was killed. That's okay. A broken leg.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, broken leg. We're making. Yeah, why is the Mishnah saying this broken leg?
That's the Gemara.
Killing story.
Yeah,
the Gemara is not asking. Okay. The next kasha is not that. It might answer your kasha, but I don't think that's the Gemara's kasha. Might answer it. Okay, let's see weiter. V'cheinu oimer And that's what it says. V'gam dam naki shafach menashe harbe me'oid ad asher milias Yerushalayim pe lepe. Meaning, there was so much from Menashe, he made it like, that's what you said, like Dr. Zakaro said, like that he made blood, killing people, blood so common that everybody got desensitized to it. Right? Fine. Okay, so that's basically what happened. They got so desensitized to people dying that he was more worried about his knife. Okay, so hey Maisa Kadim, which Maisa came first? Meaning there were two Maisim. One was a broken leg and one was a murder. Right? Well, it's late. If it's Shvichas Damim, Hashta Shvichas Damim like the Kinu Paisa. Again, what happened? They broke the leg and then they decided, okay, we're not doing this race anymore, we're doing the raffle. Right? So then when did the Shvichas Damim happen? If it happened before, so if they didn't make a raffle because of murder, so then why would they do it on Nishbara Ragloi Tikinu, but because of a broken foot they would be masakin it? Ella, the Nishbara Ragloi Kadam must be that the broken foot Maisa happened first. But given that Kinu Paisa, right? But that's also a problem. Because if they did the lottery, Arba Amas Maya with the tires, so then what was the whole race? What was this whole race? Right? Meaning, if the murder Maisa happened first, so then they should have made the lottery after that, not after the broken leg. Okay, so it must be the broken leg happened first. So the broken leg happened first. So how did this whole mice even take place? There was no longer any races, right? It must be that the murder happened first. They thought, okay, it was a fluke. It was a fluke thing that happened. Given the chazi, afilu mimela asali de sakana. So then mimela, once they saw that there's another story of a broken leg, and they say, okay, this is too much already. Then Tekina Rabbanan Paisa, so that's what you're masakin the Paisa, which Rabbanan, so that answers your kasha also.
Yeah,
the reason that was the one that made them, that broke the camel's back, was the second Maisa. Right? Okay. So Amud Reb Tzadok. So I think Gemara says, Amud Reb Tzadok al Maila Seulam. He stood on the steps. Amud Achenu Beisol Shimu Harayu Oimer Ki Matzei Chala Ba'adama Anan Al Mila Havi Al Ir Al Alazaris. Right? I don't know why the Gemara quotes the whole sentence again, but he said, who's going to be responsible for this? Yerushalyim pas asuya Eglah Arufah. Is Yerushalyim? Does Yerushalyim have to bring Eglah Arufah? Vatanya asar dvarim never Yerushalyim. There were 10 things said by Yerushalyim, right? V'zu achas man, and this is one of them on Talmud Beis. Eina mevia Eglah Arufah, right? Yerushalyim, they don't bring Eglah Arufah. Yeah. So that ends up Rashi says it's out Xeris Akasav, the way that we learn Pshat in the Pasuk, not for any specific reason, right? Because of the Yerusha, whatever. This is Uri's kasha, right? That it says only if you didn't know. And here you do know who killed him. So why there's no Eglah Arufah here. Now the reason why he said it was in order to get people to cry and to realize how to get people that were desensitized to have a little bit of sensitivity, right? Fine. So then the Gemara says, so Amar Harehu Kaparaschem, he's the kapara of Adayim Penikayim, and my son is still alive. Teaches us that back then they were more concerned about Tyrus Kalim more than Shvichas Damim. So Ibayl, so they had a Shaila. Shvichas Damim, who dizal, made Shvichas Damim, meaning murder, got cheap in their eyes of a Tyrus Kalim Kidakaima Kaima, but they had the same chashivos for the Tyrus Kalim. Idilma Shvichas Damim Kidakaima Kaima, or do we say that Shvichas Damim is the Kaima Kaima, of a Tyrus Kalim, he the Chamira, but meaning they had the same attitude towards murder. But Tyrus Kalim was that got more strict to them. Meaning which one was status quo and which attitude changed. So Tashma, Midikanos v'la Talmuda. When the Pasuk says, V'gam dam naki shafach Menashe, that the Gemara brought the Pasuk, that Menashe was busy killing innocent people. So Shma Mina, Shvichas Damim hu dizal, that teaches us that Shvichas Damim is what got cheap in people's eyes. The Tyrus Kalim Kedekaima Kaima. and Tyrus Kalim was status quo. So it was really everything was normal except for murder made them cheap. Okay, so Taner Rabbanon. Right? So he took off his clothing, meaning the clothing, there was two steps here. The one was removing the ashes from the mezbeach, and then he's got to go take it outside. Yeah? So now, but he has to change his clothing to do that. So Shamani, Kederach Yom Kippurim. So l'chayra, it means we could hear from this that it's the way it was done on Yom Kippur, right? Shapaishet Bigdei Kodesh. He takes off his Bigdei Kodesh, v'loivish Bigdei Chol, and he puts on Bigdei Chol. So right, that's what you would think, yeah. So Talmud Loimar upashadas begada v'lovish begada ma'achirim. No, it says no. He takes off his clothing and he wears other clothing. Makish begadim shaloivish begadim shapaishet. And we make a comparison between the clothing that he was wearing, right, and to the clothing that he takes off after he's finished doing the ashes. Yeah, malahalon bigdei kodesh. So just like there, when he's moving the ashes, he has to have bigdei kodesh because he's doing an avoda afkan bigdei kodesh. So same thing here also he has to have bigdei kodesh. So the Gemara asks him, Cain, if that's the case, ma Talmud loimer acherim. So what do you say that it's other clothing? If it's the same clothing, so what do you mean other clothing? So the Gemara answers, they should be less than the other clothing. Right? Like we said before, that it's going to get all dirty. Right? We said this, I don't know, a week or two ago, that it's going to get all dirty. So therefore they should switch to more shvacha clothing. Acherim v'haitzi. The way you have to darshan the pasuk is that acherim v'haitzi, that he's going to remove, which is that there's another kohen here. Limud. So what does this mean? Limud halakayhanim bali mumin sheksher lo'itzi adesh. It means there's acherim, that there are others that have the ability to take the ashes off. Meaning normally a kohen that's a bal mum is not allowed to do an avoda, is possible for avoda. But here we're saying that the pasuk acherim is coming to tell us that there are others who normally cannot do avoda, but here they are allowed. This avoda they're allowed to do, right? So so now we'll see with the Gemara what this means. So Amar Mar says acherim tchusin mehen, right? Yeah, it means that there's others that are less than them. The Tana Devei Rabbi Shmuel, like what Rabbi Shmuel says, the Tana Devei Rabbi Shmuel begadim shebishul behen kedero l'rabbi. Right, we had this, I think, in where we have this in Shabbos. Begadim, that the master cooks for them. Lo yimzok behen kos l'rabbi, meaning whoever the
Rashi brings it.
What?
In the Chumash, Rashi brings it in the Chumash.
Oh, Rashi, maybe that's what I saw it. Yeah, the Rashi brings it in the Chumash, but we had it in the Gemara also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gemara in Shabbos, right? It was in the Gemara in Shabbos. Yeah. So that the clothing that you cook the food in, it's not respectful to serve the person, to serve the master that way. You got to put on nicer clothing, right? So the same thing. It wouldn't be proper for the kohen who's dealing with the ashes, going to get all dirty, to then go continue to do avoda with that clothing. So put on less clothing, right? Like the Gerach Hasidim by the Tish, right? That's what we said. Gerach Hasidim by the Tish put on they put on their Tish clothing,
football clothes. Yeah, they have football clothes,
right? For all the pushing they're doing, yeah. Right. So Amar Reish Lakish k'machlokes b'haitzah. The same way you have a machlokes taking the ashes out. Kach machlokes ba'arama. The machlokes is the truma is removing the ashes too. Meaning he's holding that the same way they said that somebody who's a bal mum is allowed to take the ashes off, right? So to here. Even the one that's separated is allowed to. Is also a bal mum is also allowed to do it. That's Rish Lakish. There's only a machlokes by hatzah whether the bal mum can take it out. Everybody holds that the actual moving the ashes off the mezbeach, that's a legitimate avoda, and if it's a legitimate avoda, then a bal mum is not allowed to do it. My time with the Rish Lakish. Why does Rish Lakish say that a bal mum is allowed to even move the ashes? Amar Lach. So he's going to say to Isaac, if you're going to say that it's an avoda, is there any avoda that's kosher with only the kohen wearing 2 kelim, right? Which we're going to see, it's the midoi vad, who michnasei vad is all the Torah says he needs, right? Which is the pants and the, what do you call it? And the shirt. Yeah. So memela, you can't have a kohen doing avoda with only 2 garments on. So Elamai must not be an avoda. If it's not an avoda, then a Baal Mum could do it too. That's what Rish Lakish said. Rabbi Yochanan, Gali Rachamana B'Ksainas M'Gnasai. No, the Torah says that he takes the shirt and the pants, but who adin the mitznefes v'avnei, but he also needs to have the belt and the hat on too. The Torah is just using it as representation.
Well, the better representation to do he needs 4 is to say the hat and the belt. I mean, if he has
he's not going to go without a shirt and pants.
If he has to wear a hat and a belt, then Avadi has to wear a shirt and pants.
You would think, right? You would think so.
Or
right.
Or if it's not an avoda, what are they fighting over to begin with?
Right. That's
Come
also.
on,
Why do they have
come
to sit
on.
there and race up there and
Come
make themselves crazy?
come on.
Yep.
No, I hear. It's yeah.
They're Shalmi Kohanim. They're fighting. You know what I mean? They're not laying smoking a cigar on the beach in Boca. You know what I mean?
I'm not on the beach, and I'm also a kohen, and I'm telling you that I wouldn't be fighting if it's not an avoda.
That's why you're not in Yerushalyim, no? So you just proved my point. You proved
Hey,
my
you'd
point.
He said last time he doesn't even know where the beach is.
Yeah. Well, that's a Rachmanis. He lives in Florida. He doesn't know where the beach is.
He comes to Far Rockaway for the beach in the summers. Anyway, yeah. Talk about an oilam hafuch, but okay. Anyways, fine. So whatever. That's the Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. So meaning basically the Machlokes comes down to when the Torah says that to do the Trumas Hadeshen, to remove the ashes, you need two. You need the shirt and the pants. Does that mean shirt and pants plus the belt and the hat, or does it mean specifically those 2 but not the others? And b'meila, the fallout from that machlokes is whether it's considered an avoda, and if it's not considered an avoda, then a kohen who's a Baal Mum can do it. So Gemara says umayshna hani midoi bad. So why does it say these? Why does it say midoi bad? So midoi kimidasai. What's teaching us, it has to be mamish. It has to fit him. Right, that it has to be his size. You can't be, you can't just go into the whatever locker room and just pick a shirt. He has to be custom made. Right, we had it last week. Right, the Pinchas was the name of the tailor. Right, and Michnasei vad. And what is Michnasei vad telling you? Right, the pants. Look at the Tanya. But where do you know that that nothing could go on the kohen's body before his pants? He has to put the pants on his basar. So we learn out from that dafka the pants, right? He's Rashi, the way Rashi says it, he has to, when he's undressed, when he's naked, then that's when he puts on the pants. Otherwise, why do you need the words al b'sarai? Right? So that's the first way of learning. Rish Lakish midai kimidasai. Mida kimidase means mida'afke rachmana b'lashon midai. The Torah is using the shirt as a lashon of midai, right? Instead of ksainis, shalei davar kaidem l'chasayim. He's saying that what it's telling you is that nothing should be before the pants. I'm sorry. I ran on sentence. I'm sorry. Let's start. Rish Lakish midai kimidase. How does he know that? Right? So midai kimidase is telling you that it has to be his size. So that's why the Torah uses lashon midai. And how does he know that the pants have to be the first thing on the body? That's me'al b'sarei nafka. He learns it out me'al b'sarei. So whatever it is, so that's the Machlokes Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, whether removing the ashes is an avoda or not. Okay, we'll stop here for tonight. Okay, not bad.
Yuri, I apologize. I didn't realize you were kohen. Excuse me.
Stop it, relax.
No, who said you're allowed to be?
I don't even remember you being a kohen.
No, I'm saying it's not. Don't worry about it. You didn't insult me.
I didn't think so either, but if you did think so, then you
No,
already
no,
got to
no,
go back to Aleph.
me not knowing where the beach is in Boca is not an insult. It's fine.
Yeah, that's a compliment. No?
Not knowing
Yeah.
that the beach is east, though, is an insult, already.
Oh, that's okay. If you don't know which direction, fair enough.
Fair.
Enough. Gershon, what's the mice you wanted to say?
I think I said it over by Sheer once before.
Go ahead, shear's over now. You could say it. Now you're frozen.
This week's parsha is Bahar B'Chukaisai, no?
Yes.
Chukaisai, I said over once before. Shalom Shvadron used to say over in his shuzah in the Meister with the Reb Chaim Ben Attar, the Reb Chaim HaKadosh. That he went
with
into Galus
when he
once.
traveled.
Yeah. That was all because of he was mochel al kavoda, al kavet Talmud chacham. He wasn't mochel for the kavet of Talmud chacham, which is today's daf.
Right.
That's this week. Parshas B'Chukaisai, he has 42 pshatim on in B'Chukaisai Telechu. Those words.
Right. So now, what was the Maisa? He came to the traveling town and nobody paid attention. Right? Something like that, right?
The first part of the Maisa was he was in charge of the Chalukah Basar for the town's Talmidei Chachamim. So one week it came out, Thursday it came out that his animal, the one that he was in charge of, the shechting or whatever, was the only kosher animal, only non-treifa animal in town. So one of the Gvirim came over. He says, you have an extra piece I can have for Shabbos. He says, no, we gave them all Talmidei Chachamim. So he says, well, there isn't someone who went away for Shabbos, someone who doesn't want this week, doesn't need, something like that. He says, yeah, we had one, but we gave it to one of the Melamdim. So the guy, the Usher says, there's always another Talmud Chacham. He was Mevazah Talmidei Chachamim, and then the Orach Chaim HaKadosh let it go. So fine, later that night, he was up in Shemayim doing what he did. And they were geyser on him in Shemayim that he has to go into Galus for 7 years. Whatever any of this means. But this is Reb Shalom Shvadron used to say this over.
Right.
So he goes into Galus and he's somewhere in, I guess, Northern Africa somewhere. And he's walking Friday and he has no idea where he is. And from somewhere in the wood somewhere, he hears someone chopping down wood. And every time he hears the axe fall down, he hears the Kavod Shabbos Kodesh. So he makes his way over to this Yid. And he asks him, do you have somewhere I can stay for Shabbos? So somewhere, I'm in Galus and I can't stay for more than one night. So just for tonight, is there somewhere I can stay, eat, daven, whatever? This Yid says, yeah, come with me. Fine, he goes with him. He goes and gets ready for Shabbos, and he goes to shul Friday night with his host. And before Ma'ariv, after Kabbalah Shabbos, the Rav of the shul gets up, and he gets up to give a drasha, and he closes his eyes for 2 minutes, and then he opens them. He says, I was just in Shemayim, and the Malachim were handling in front of the Kisei HaKavod 14 pshatim that the Reb Chaim Ben Attar said over. The Malachim thought this was amazing. Yeah, these are the 14 pshatim. He finishes the 14 pshatim, and the Orach Chaim HaKadosh was sitting in the back of the shul. Looks like an Aniv Avian in the middle of Galus. When the Rav finishes, he says, Emes, Kain Amar Chaim Ben Attar. And the townspeople in the shul go crazy. I mean, a Rav just went up to Shemayim and listened to Malachim and told us the 14 pshatim. Here you are saying not even a Reb Chaim Ben Attar, just Chaim Ben Attar. And the Rav managed to quiet them down, fine, and everyone went home. Shabbos day, they come back before Musaf. The Rav gets up again, and he closes his eyes for 2 minutes, and he comes down. He says another 14 pshatim said over by Reb Chaim Ben Attar. He finishes them, and the Orach Chaim HaKadosh does the same thing. Emes Kain Amar Chaim Ben Attar. And now the townspeople wanted to lynch him already. Finally, the Rav managed to stop them, and he gives the Orach Chaim HaKadosh a warning. He says, you can't do this. I can't stop them if you do anything else crazy like this. Fine, they went home, had the Suda comes back, Shalashidas they have in the shul, and the Rav did the same thing again. Closed his eyes, come back down. The last 14 pshatim, which make up the 42. He says them over, and the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says again, Emes, Kain Amar Chaim Ben Attar. and the Rav has the people go over, put him in the cell in the bottom of the shul, because if he wouldn't have put them in the cell, they would have ripped him apart. Fine, they daven Ma'ariv, Arufah HaKodesh is in the cell, everyone goes home, and the Rav makes Havdalah, and as he's making Havdalah, he hears a rash outside, a wind started up, and it's very fast becoming a hurricane. And he doesn't know what's going on. It's starting in his town square, and it's going crazy. He never had a hurricane before. He closed his eyes, he goes up to Shemayim, he's asked what's going on. He says, don't you understand? The Yerushalyim HaKadosh, he's the one who keeps the world going from one week to the next without any craziness going on like this. And he says a shame, one of the shameless during Havdalah, and with Kavanas, and he stops this thing from happening. So the Rav says, I don't understand. So what? Why is it what's going on over here? They said, don't you understand? The Yerushalyim HaKadosh is in your jail cell. So finally he understands, and he goes and he feels the Yerushalyim HaKadosh, fine. The Yerushalyim HaKadosh, that later on his way out, he goes up to Shemayim himself, and he hears in Shemayim, they're talking about what happened, and he hears that they patted him from the rest of his galus. Because he went into galus because he weren't mochel for the cover with Talmud chacham. And they were mevaza you at Talmud chacham, that cancels out. So that was the end of his galus. Those are the 42 pshatim on Chukaisa he used to say over Yerushalyim.
That was he said it in Bahar B'Chukaisa.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why it's this week's parsha. This is when he said it. Yeah.
Wow. I hear. It's a scary mice, the bats. I mean.
Yeah.
I hear you.
It's mamish, the top line of today's daf. The Talmud Chacham can be quiet, but not for someone else's covet. Or someone else has to stick up for his covet, whichever way you look at it.
They say
This was the Chaim.
Well, the story of the Chavetz Chaim when he's on the train and he doesn't stand up for himself, right? And the guy slaps him because he was he said, who are you going to see? He says, I'm going to see the Chavetz Chaim. And he's like, oh, he's not such a big deal. And the guy starts like yelling at him. What do you mean he's not a big deal? He's yelling at the Chavetz Chaim, He gets off the train and then people are like surrounding him and the guy's so embarrassed and he's like, you said you can't speak Lashon Hara even about a Talmud Chacham, Like even about yourself you're not allowed to speak Lashon Hara.
Yeah.
Right. That was I don't know if that's true. Is that the halacha?
I don't know, but Rav Pesach Kron quotes it in his farm. So I mean,
right.
The Chavetz Chaim brings it. The Chavetz Chaim says it's not halacha, but it's kedai to be careful. And anything the Chavetz Chaim says is kedai to be careful about is probably kedai to be careful about.
Right.
Yeah.
The Archaim is asked the kasha that we asked earlier about like Sachma. So how is it shayach to not want something that somebody else has? It's you can't control it. So he says in chat that it's a lack of bitachon. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to know that belongs to that person. This belongs to me. That's what he says.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's a crazy clear yikar in that too. A mind-boggling clear yikar. And how the two sides of the luchas are connected each other. What's connected like Sachmid? Yeah. All about Amud B'tachon. Yeah. All right. Yashikoyach.
Koyach for the Maisa. Koyach for the Maisa. All right.
Pleasure.
Enjoy that cigar. Enjoy that cigar, Leori.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm enjoying it with you.
All right. Dr. Korma, you still on? Are you there? Or is he just...
I'm here.
Are you there? Because Shmuley is back in the hospital.
Okay. I think I missed last time I was away.
Yeah, I meant to tell you anyways. I forgot to tell you, but he's back in and he doesn't have a cell phone. He left it at home. I don't know what the pshat in that is.
Should I bring it to him? I'm going tomorrow night.
Oh, no, I don't know. I think he dafka left it home.
Uh-huh. Okay. I'll go see him.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. If you don't mind, let me know how he's doing.
Sure.
All right. Okay, have a good night.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.